This is Rabbi Son, hot takes on news, pop culture, and religion, hosted by Rabbi Patrick, that's who's talking right now, and my son Javon. Spiritual, irreverent, always fearless, produced by Darshan Yeshiva. Javon, how are you doing today?
Fine.
He's always doing fine. So, we're going to talk about dating. We got two Reddit. I've really been enjoying these like Reddit questions that no one asks us from old-1 430. So this is in the Judaism Reddit, and we're talking about dating here. So this person says, I regret dating a non-Jew, but I don't know how to let her down gently. Woof. Okay, here we go. I'm writing this from my throwaway account because anybody who knows me in person would recognize me from my regular accounts. Oh, blah, blah, blah. We get it. Okay. I'm in university and I met a very nice girl. We connected very quickly and well, now we've been dating for a few months. Unfortunately, she isn't Jewish and she is already talking about marriage. She talks about how she wants me to, quote unquote, wait for her to finish med school. We're still undergrads, and how she already loves me. It's starting to bother me. The real problem here is that she seems like she's made her mind up about marrying me, but I don't really want to marry her. She's already made it clear she won't leave her religion for me if I was not the person who brought this up. Okay. And wants to raise our children in both religions. It's very important to me that I raise my children Jewish, and while I absolutely respect her religion, my idea of raising my children Jewish doesn't include having them worship multiple deities and idols. Okay, yikes. I respect and admire people who make interfaith marriages work, but I don't think it's for me. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm going to jump in on this one immediately. Okay. So here's the way that like all of these things work. All of like every single one of these Reddit questions is exactly the same. It's pretext, you know, blah, blah, blah. And here's the cousin, and we live in New Jersey, and I like, you know, tofu. It's like all this nonsense until finally you get to the freaking point. This has nothing to do with religion. Mm. This has to do with she's ready to have a ring put on her finger, and you're like just having a good time playing like Xbox and, you know, playing with her, quite frankly. So my attitude on this is I think you've learned something about yourself. You want to date someone who's Jewish. She is not. She will not convert to Judaism. The relationship is done. More importantly, you're not, I think, ready for dating anyone who's ready to date seriously. Mm-hmm. You say you're still an undergrad, so that means you're somewhere in the if you're a typical right out of high school type student, then you're under 23. And you're just having a good time, and she's cool and whatever, but yeah. You know, I know it's not popular to say things like this, but women mature faster than men do. And I'm getting definite dude vibes off of this person. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just feel like in the whole like beginning, it's just read it from the beginning.
I'm not going to read it entirely.
I'm not like from the beginning, but like
okay. Well, so this person starts off with we're in university. We like each other, we connect. Okay. Now she's jumping into marriage. Like that's like the third sentence is like marriage, bam.
Okay. So they probably been dating for like what he said?
A few months, whatever that is.
A few months, yeah.
Which could be a month or 6 months. We have no idea.
Yeah, even at 6 months, like, you know, calm down a little bit. Like you just met the person.
23. At 23.
You're just like you're trying to get to university, like you even have to finish medical school. Right. So it's just like you're trying to like rush into this life. I feel like this from what he's saying, like this rushing into something, I feel like she's like attaching herself to him like almost immediately, and it's like you haven't given the relationship enough time to breathe. You haven't had enough, you know, like time to like actually be around each other and like experience what that is like. Okay. You know, for a prolonged period of time to see if like this is something that, you know, I actually want to, you know, move forward with. Well, like 6 months is not a lot of time.
And well, here's the thing. Also, like I'm rereading it, it's that she's going to go to medical school. So here's what I like about this dynamic is that they're both undergrads. I think that's how that's working out. And she's already figured out, I'm going to med school. We're getting married. We're having kids. I'm not changing religions, but here's how the family dynamic's going to work. And he's like, hey, you're cool. Like, like that's the dynamic that they have right now.
She clearly has a plan of how she wants her life to look like. And he doesn't. So I think it's time,
time to cut the
time to clearly this is where the river splits.
Yep.
And y'all have to go y'all separate ways because she
do
knows
it for
what she
her.
wants.
And
like you just playing along and just going along with it. This is why there are a lot of people unhappy in marriages with kids they didn't want. In a life they didn't want because they didn't say like, look, this is not something that I want to do. This is not where I am right now.
Right.
And so just going with the flow.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is that like she's dating. Okay, I think different people date differently. So it's not just like different kinds of people, but like people approach dating differently. And I think that there's a certain kind of person, and I don't think it's necessarily gender typical in any way, but there's a certain kind of person that they date strategically. Like they know what they want. They're not going to waste time. They're not going to, as some people say, suffer fools. Like they've got it. Like, and I have a feeling she probably is someone who dates strategically. She knows she wants to go to medical school. She, knows that she wants to have children, whatever. This guy hasn't even talked about like what his future is, right? He hasn't talked about whether he says he wants children. So, okay, so they got that in common, right? But he cares enough about Judaism that he should be thinking about whether or not he should be dating a Jewish person. So that's where it's kind of like, dude, you've already spoiled the story at that point.
Yeah, like these ones of people saying like, they're dating non-Jewish people, but then they want to raise their child Jewish. It's just like, honestly, I think like this.
What's your take on that?
I just think he could have worked that out. Like,
okay,
he could have worked that out. If, say, like she was a Christian or something, I think that can blend. They can blend. They have areas of similarities, but then obviously they diverge.
Right,
clearly,
right.
But like you can do that if
you can make possible. It work. You can make it work.
It's possible, but I just don't think he is not in the space where he's thinking about like, serious lifelong things.
Right.
Like
right.
Clearly, because if you say you did want children, but then, she already told you that she didn't want to switch religion, but then you had a problem with it. It just like, it's confusing.
And the kind of way that he talks about her and being a Christian about like, what was it he said? Something about like idol worship or something like that. I'm like, yeah, multiple deities and idols. Like
you're the same God.
He's being really condescending about a person that he's spending time with. Like I would never talk to my Christian friends like that. Like, and these are friends. These are not even a romantic partner, right? Advantage of marrying Jewish. You don't have to like have that conversation. But like, I don't know. I tell people every marriage is an interfaith marriage. And by that, I mean, there is like quote unquote interfaith marriage. One person's one thing, one person is something else. But also in Judaism, I think, but in a lot of religions, this is probably true. People express it in different ways, right? So like, take Judaism out of it for a minute. So like, you imagine some couple, they're both like maybe Protestants, right? Like, whatever. And one doesn't, one's like an Easter and Christmas type of person, and they like that, and that's all they do. And then another person is like going to Bible study on Wednesdays, right? Those two people will have friction, even though they're their same religion, because they approach the religion differently. They value it in different ways. And Judaism's the same way. I mean, there are couples who are both Jewish and they break up over religion because one person wants to practice it in one way or another. Or like for some people, it's more about the community. And for other people, it's more about traditional worship or traditional lifestyle practices or whatever. So like, then you throw in the actual like interfaith component. And that's when it gets even more complicated. The only time I ever see it really work, like really, really work, is when one partner says, you know what? I'm not actually religious. I just am not Jewish. And so you're in charge of the religion department. Like, we're going to go see, mom and dad on Christmas because they're my parents too, and we're married and whatever. The kids get extra presents, but at the end of the day, Jewish household. Like, that's what we're doing. And I'm along for the ride. Tell me how much the bar mitzvah costs, right? And those marriages really work well because you have one religion, even though there's two sort of religions in the household, right? Or you have these situations where a Jewish person and a non-Jewish person marry each other and neither of them cares about any of that stuff. So they kind of raise the kids as nothing. And, I think sometimes that's tough, but, because then in identity formation, people, like when you're a kid, you're sort of like, when you get to be a teenager, you're thinking about like, who am I and what am I about? Where am I from? And so there are kind of moments, I think, for those kids where it's like, well, how come I have to go to my cousin's bar mitzvah? Is that a thing I have to have? Well, Auntie so-and-so just got married in the church. Is that something we're supposed to do? And when you just say,
you can do what you please.
I mean, you can say do what you please, but like, it's challenging for couples. And I see it. It's challenging for couples when they both have traditions and they're not going to do any of it. Like, you have to like actually work hard to erase your pasts and like erase where you come from in order to accomplish that sort of we're nothing goal. Like, it's actually really hard to do.
Well, I just feel like, he is the immature one in his relationship. But I do feel like she's putting too much stock, in a new relationship already.
Yeah.
But, it's clear that, she's not for the games. She knows what she wants and what her life, wants to look like. And, it's not about, it's like, just break up. Like, it's a breakup. It's not this, fluffy, like, thing. People are going to get hurt. Feelings are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. Like, even the gentle letdown, that's isn't like...
Yeah, it's still going to be sad.
Yeah.
Like, so at the end of the day.
Rip that Band-Aid off. If y'all can still be friends, be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because,
wish her the best. And yeah. So reading some of the comments here, like, so Kath M. Hughes, who's an interfaith spouse, and shout out to you for having that as your flair on Reddit. It's like, don't even get into the religion part. Just talk about how it's moving too fast and you're not ready for marriage discussions. Now, I'm going to say this will backfire because she might then say like, oh, so what I need to do is just not talk about marriage. Like, I'm going to, depending on what kind of person this is, right? If we're talking about someone who's not very emotionally mature, like, she might think like, I'll just back off on the marriage thing. And it's like a toad in hot water. And then eventually we're getting married, right?
I feel like what she should do instead of like, like, yes, we're going to take time, but I have a timeline. And if we're not married, going on year 5, then, if I don't see a ring by, engaging by year 3 and, married by year 5, we're just going to have to part ways. I feel like sometimes you have to put...
Yeah, I agree.
Civic things down. So, like...
That's strategy dating. I'm with it. Yeah, you don't want to waste your time. If that's what you're looking for, yeah, be honest with people. Yeah, dance. Okay, so this one person, interesting _claim 414. So they quote sort of this one advice columnist named Dan Savage, who is really great. I love Dan Savage. He says, this is the one time in life where white lies are allowed. So just a little bit of Jewish education here. So in the Talmud, you have Rabbi Hillel and Rabbi Shammai, and those are the two big schools of thought, basically. And so one of the questions is it ever okay to lie? And so one of the things that Hillel sort of said is that it's okay to lie in certain conditions. Shammai was a bit more of a fundamentalist about like, you never lie. But Hillel said he said some different reasons, like, or different times rather, when he said it's okay to lie. And we call them little white lies. So the one example that's the most popular is if you think the bride is ugly, it's okay to say, seriously, no, the Talmud says this. If you think that a bride is ugly, you don't tell her the truth. You tell her she looks lovely because, big picture, every bride is beautiful on her wedding. Like, there's just certain things that
if you live in a fantasy world, you want to, like, disbelieve what you're seeing.
Well, okay, but it's a question of human dignity. And that like there's a dignity to like she spent all that time and energy and probably money to like look that way. This is her big day. It's their big day. Like, you know, go along with it. Like no one's actually asking you your opinion. What they're asking for is a request to say like, "Oh, you look beautiful." Like, of course you do that. Like that's a no duh kind of thing, right?
No, I think, you know,
you would seriously tell a bride she's unattractive at her wedding? Seriously, you would do that?
I don't know if I would go to a wedding. you're having me things that, you know, but I think
like a friend of yours is getting married, let's say.
I don't have ugly friends.
Okay, but what if they wore a dress you didn't like?
Then I would have told them prior to if I was invited to the dress. I'd have been like, "Oh,
do you think?" Okay, so you're gaming it that any wedding you would go to, you would be invited to like help them with outfits.
Exactly.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, all right. So then I can't come up with a scenario where this is, you know, whatever.
Yeah, like if you.
Well, you wouldn't be okay. Fine. The hair. Like, let's say, like, the hair doesn't look the way you thought it was going to. Or with the dress. They made a last-minute decision, decided not to go with the dress. You don't know about it. You show up. It's not what you were expecting. And someone says, like, oh, doesn't so-and-so look so handsome or beautiful or whatever? Would you literally say, like, no?
I would say, that's good for them. I wouldn't do it.
You would say that to a bride or groom's face? To someone getting married, you would
I
be
would
like,
say this is good for you. I wouldn't see myself in it, but we all like different things.
Okay, so you wouldn't. Okay, interesting. So you would dodge the question entirely.
I told him exactly what I felt.
No, that's totally a dodge. That's a senator. I'm not familiar with that individual.
This is very. I'm gonna tell you, like, you know, when. Well, you know black people, but when a black person says, you know, oh, that's good for them, you know, I wouldn't see myself doing that.
Is that code?
That means I don't like it.
Okay. So you would literally then say to someone, I don't like what you're wearing on their wedding day.
If I didn't like it, why lie about simple stuff? Like,
because it's terrible.
But if you are gonna lie about simple stuff, then you'll lie about big stuff.
Well, so Shammai thought that way. Yeah, Shammai was very rigid about the only. So then there was this question of like, can you lie to save someone's life? And that was kind. I'd have to look at that section of Talmud and tell you.
Like,
I don't remember.
Have insurance or?
Well, we don't. Insurance doesn't exist in the Talmud. That's you're talking about somewhere, you know, in the, you know, this is being codified in the year like 300 to 500 CE. So like, you know,
does this woman have a husband or something like that? I don't know.
Oh, what in my story that I'm giving?
No, yeah, like say like I wouldn't know. Yeah, can't think of the thing.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, no.
But anyway, so this person is quoting Dan Savage and says it's okay to do a little white lie. I don't think it's actually a little white lie. Like, don't want to get married.
Yeah, like there's no lie right now.
There isn't.
It's like you are clearly not in the space where she's at, and you're not on the same frequency, and that's fine. Like, you're not lying. You're just being like, hey, you want something and I want something else. We are incompatible, you know. All, you know, the best to you, and then, you know, going about your business. I feel like people are making this a big thing. Because at the end of the day, he's asking this question even though he knows exactly what he wants to do. You know, he wants to break up with her. And that's fine. Just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. This is, yeah. But actually communicate that. Like, because people really have bad communication skills. And you just say, you know, I think we're moving too fast.
Yeah.
And the things that you want to do not match with things that I want to do. Right. Especially when it comes to, you know, how kids are being raised and how the household, you know, will function. And I think it's best, you know, you go find someone that is comfortable doing that, and I'll go find someone that's comfortable. You know, it's really not a big deal.
Okay, so now I'm totally embarrassed because we were like reading this, whatever, and and they didn't say this in their post. This person's actually a lesbian. It's not a guy. So this person, old 1430, later says like, I'm really sorry.
Huh?
Yeah.
Actually, now
does this change the dynamic for you a little bit?
It really does.
Oh man. This is like, wow. Okay. This is now LGBTQ problems. Like, wow, add that to the mix. Okay. So how does this change your thing?
I mean, because one, you're a lesbian. Like, that's just like, if you're going to be trying to be all like, Miss Traditional, like, it's, sort of kind of like, that traditional went out the, door.
You mean the one that wants to get married?
I mean, the one that doesn't want to get married.
The one that doesn't want to get married. Okay.
Yeah, doesn't want to get married and doing all of this, like, where I want to be, Jewish household, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
like,
I say,
I
gotcha.
never see myself marrying a Jewish woman. I mean, you're going to see, like, who are you being traditional for? Like, you're lesbian.
Okay,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like quite ridiculous now.
But you know what's funny about that though is that years ago, when Punk Torah first started, so you're talking like 15 years ago, right? I got an email from someone who said, "I'm a woman. I'm a Jewish woman. I'm in a relationship. I think, it must have been a relationship. I'm engaged. I'm engaged to, obviously, another woman in the story. She said, I'm Jewish. She's not. When we get married, should I cover my hair the way that married women in Orthodox Judaism cover their hair?"
No, because you're not an Orthodox Jew. Like, that went out the window. Like, I mean, are people dumb? Like, are people like,
dumb's a little strong language. I think.
Are people dumb? Like, I feel like you have to ask that question sometimes. That's a real question to ask, because I know you not just really type that message up, reread it, and then sent that off, and then really, like, what do you expect the answer to be?
Man, I am just so like all about this person though, because now I'm reading like they're 19, they're your age.
Yeah, I wouldn't be that dumb.
Yeah, this is a lot. We're not going to say dumb. That's not very nice, but yeah, this is a lot to be like figuring out when you're 19. Okay, and they said that like her parents met in their mid-20s. So who knows? Maybe there's some of that like playing in the mix. But yeah, this is getting a little more interesting. I totally had this image of this person in my head as like some guy named like, Tyler, who like, kind of is like wearing dirty clothes and doesn't really care and whatever, and is dating some like really high strung, 20-something-year-old woman who's in university making a 4.0 grade average and is going to like go to med school and have 2.5 kids. Oh, but and now lesbians.
Go figure. So all my commentary just went out the window.
I know, right?
You're a lesbian. Like, stop trying. You're gay. Like,
so the heteronormativity bothers you.
You're gay. Like, stop.
Man, that is so old school gay, Javon.
Because you're trying to play straight. That's not like you're in a world where it's allows flexibility.
Okay.
In the way you do things.
Interesting.
So, like, you're trying to play these traditional roles when those traditional roles weren't made for you.
What if it's a butch femme dynamic, though? So you could, like, see that maybe being part of the equation.
I mean, are you still a lesbian?
Yeah. In a butch femme relationship?
Then you're still, like, exactly. So to answer your question.
Okay, so you still default to lesbian equals rules don't apply.
Yes, because why are you like? Doesn't that defeat the purpose? Like, it doesn't really defeat the purpose, and you're trying to like play this like this traditional role when those traditional roles literally weren't made for you. Why are you trying to put yourself in a box that you can't fit in? That's like trying to put a beach ball in a shoebox. Well, I can't close the lid, can't even put it in there.
Yeah, I mean, but different kinds of people like to live their lives in different ways, so it's not, I don't think that there's a single way to live a human life, whether you're straight or LGBTQ plus or, whatever. So this just happens to be
has an identity crisis, and
I don't think this person had an identity crisis.
I do.
You do? Okay. I think that she like met someone, maybe wasn't there yet with like what mattered to them, she's like now kind of realizing what matters, and what's helping her to realize what matters to her is the catalyst of dating someone who's like hardcore. Because if they're in university together, she's 19, maybe this person's slightly older, right? Like maybe like, but still early 20s, and is talking about like marriage, kids, how it's going to go down, like whatever.
I mean, personally, this person has a plan to me.
Yeah,
like and becoming a doctor, going to med school.
Kudos to her, man.
Like this very safe life. Like, you don't know the rest of these bums out there. Like,
very traditional Jewish move, by the way, to do med school. So I'm kind of thinking maybe we, convince her not to be a Christian anymore. Make the marriage work.
I'm just saying, it's just like now this person is like silly to me, because you see someone like who has their life planned out, say exactly what they want to do, and then like you break up with this person, and then like you're thrown to the wolves, and you really don't like. You won't meet many people that are that like, decisive.
Oh,
they know exactly what they want, and the rest of the people are you're just like going with the flow, and like whenever this conversation happens, it happened. Instead of this person who's clearly planning their life out.
So it sounds like you're on team like make the relationship work, because this person who wants to marry you like has their act together.
You're a lesbian. Like, you're trying to do like this. I just can't. Like, you just lost me at the moment that you said lesbian, and then you're trying to be all like this.
Producer Kaylee is going to have so much fun with just that clip of "You lost me at lesbian."
Like, that's what you lost me at. Trying to do these traditional roles and like have these, just traditional mindset when you're a lesbian, and it's like you're a lesbian. Like.
Turns out that Javon is a second wave queer feminist. Who would have thought?
Because it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Okay. Well, all right. Well, bringing it back to the religion component. I mean, ultimately at 19, you're not ready to get married. It has very little, I think, to do with religion. But I think that the fact that your girlfriend, partner, whatever term you like to use, is kind of ready to like get the ball rolling on everything, and you're sort of like, nah, like I'm rediscovering that like Jewish matters to me. Yeah, I think maybe this means that like this is just not a good match, and that's okay.
And then the non-religious component, the human component, if you're gay, be gay, and like not, just do that. Like,
just do that.
If you find someone who has like this plan, and you're just like, you can always take it slow. Like, the plan's still not going to change. But if you really cannot get over the, two religion household, and like, them not wanting to convert, then have that conversation with yourself, and then just don't waste people's time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste their time.
Right.
But ultimately, like, don't try to put yourself like. I'm still just lost at lesbian. Like, I was like pretty solid in my reason, but now I'm just like
shows our bias that like that was immediately where we went with it. So
but like, because you're like it would have been different if it was like a man and a woman, because then I would have got to like fill
the dynamic,
the traditional role play,
right,
and then like, but you're a lesbian, like the tradition would have not been inclusive to you.
Mm-hmm.
So now
it is now. It is now.
Yeah, like, in certain sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is now.
Yeah.
Finding your way.
The vast majority.
Even in those,
by the way.
And even in those spaces, there are still some other things that are more fluid.
Like what?
Like, whether or not you can go somewhere on a Saturday or not.
Well, yeah, religious, like how you practice religiously. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you know what I meant, because you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I didn't, because, the word fluid to your generation means something different.
Oh, but like, you know what I mean? Like, the reform part,
yeah.
Reform,
Reconstructionist,
to be able to,
sure,
fit into this modern age.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. So now I feel like, a total like sexist pig for assuming that this was like a male-female dynamic, but I'm old. I'm old, and so are you. It turns out.
Original statement stands, for male and female, and then if you're gay, the second statement stands.
All right. Yep. And at the end of the day, if you're a Jewish lesbian, I can tell you from experience, there's about 100 million Jewish lesbians, and there's only 20 million Jews. So, like, you won't have any problem, friend. Be well, break up with the girl gently, and...
But it won't be gentle, obviously, because of the breakup.
Yeah, that's true. Best wishes, though. Either way, best wishes. Thank you to our sponsors at Darshan Yeshiva for making this content possible. Darshan Yeshiva provides beginner-level online Jewish learning, including the very popular Conversion to Judaism program, with sponsoring rabbis and students all over the world. Start your Jewish journey any place, anywhere, and anytime with our conservative, reform, reconstructionist, Jewish renewal, humanistic, and post-denominational rabbi mentors. Become the Jew you always wanted to be with Darshan Yeshiva.